Welcome back to International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the record saying the dollars, and check it out. We got another one on our hands. A sicko. From lawmaker to lawbreaker once again. A high-ranking lawmaker turned lawbreaker, dealing with this sex trafficking with minors involved. Let's get straight off into this. This time, he went international with it. Y'all check this out. Former North Dakota state senator, former North Dakota state senator sentenced to 10 years imprisonment for traveling to Prague to engage in commercial acts with children. This guy right here, Raymond Holmberg, a former North Dakota state legislator for 45 years. 45 years this guy was a legislator and traveled back and forth and did all kind of sick stuff. This is a different one right here. He was different. A former North Dakota state legislator for 45 years was sentenced today to 10 years in prison for traveling to Prague in the Czech Republic, where he paid to actually exploit children. According to the government sentencing memorandum, Holmberg's actual exploitation of minors was not limited to his trips to Prague. They said it was not limited to his trips to Prague. He had a whole lot of things on his sick mind. Holmberg established an online relationship with a 16-year-old Canadian boy, posing as a boy of similar age in order to manipulate the Canadian teen into taking images, engaging in actual explicit conduct, and sending them to Holmberg. Wow. So this legislator who was sitting in that position for over 45 years posed as a 16-year-old. Him right here, Raymond Holmberg, out of North Dakota. This is what he did. Let's continue. Holmberg paid for X acts with boys. During some of the trips, Holmberg used the alias Sean Evans. Witnesses told law enforcement that Holmberg did not want his name on the brothel's registry because he was a North Dakota state legislator. Witnesses also told law enforcement that Holmberg would also visit a public park in front of the main train station in Prague to procure X from underage boys. This is what this guy did, traveled back and forth to these different countries. International sicko. And these same guys that's writing the laws against sex trafficking and what sex trafficking is, writing laws against consensual sex workers and trying to bring down the buyer, when he's behind closed doors committing acts like this, in and out of the country.
Stop.
And bringing others into it, as you will see. Holmberg also used the Evans alias to tell friends about his trips and encouraged them to travel to Prague. In these communications, Holmberg shared an image of an adolescent boy that he called his twink and said that no one is ever too young. Remember Prague. He emailed a different friend a link to a brothel in Prague and suggested that they go that summer, writing, the boy's rent is around $60. And you see what he said next. Let's continue. This guy. Holmberg also wrote, it will be decadent, but oh so much fun. What happens in Prague stays in Prague. So Prague was his personal Vegas. This was his personal Sin City, it seems like. Back in the United States, Holmberg boasted about having engaged in sexual activity with boys as young as, you see the ages, during his travels. This guy right here, real sick one. And he encouraged others to tag along. So what is that saying? Others prominent businessmen in and around the North Dakota area. Let's continue. You'll see what's going on with this guy. According to the government sentencing memorandum, Holmberg's sexual exploitation of minors was not limited to his trips to Prague. Was not limited to his trips to Prague. Holmberg established an online relationship with a 16-year-old Canadian boy, posing as a boy of similar age in order to manipulate the Canadian into taking images of himself engaging in sexually explicit conduct and sending them to Holmberg. This is what this guy did. Posed as a 16-year-old to trap and have a child send him explicit picture. The legislator right here that's making laws, pushing the pen to make laws against sex trafficking, make laws against so-called consensual sex workers and the people that do business with them. And he's flying across seas and using computers to contact minors in different states, different countries. That's what's going on with this guy right here. And encouraging others to. It's been going on for years. Leave those kids alone. Dealing with minors, that's a major problem. It's a major problem. It's a legislator. Let's continue. Holmberg pleaded guilty to traveling in foreign commerce for the purpose of engaging in illicit sexual conduct. Homeland Security investigations, Grand Forks, and the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigations investigated the case. The Justice Department's Office of Internal Affairs and law enforcement partners in the Czech Republic and Slovakia provided substantial assistance. So this was a international effort to catch this guy up and bring him to justice. This was an international effort to catch this guy. A state senator. Here we go. Trial attorney Charles Schmitz of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, Child Exploitation and Obscenity Section, and acting U.S. Attorney Jennifer Poole of the District of North Dakota are prosecuting the case. The case was brought as part of Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative to combat the epidemic of child sexual exploitation and abuse. So this Project Safe Childhood is a nationwide initiative to combat the epidemic. They say this is an epidemic. Child sexual exploitation and abuse is an epidemic. And it seems to be that statement is true. There's many stories coming across this desk right here. So many stories of guys just like this in positions like this or similar that's abusing minors. And that's a fact. Keep watching. We're going to keep you up to date on them right here at International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Stay tuned. We got a few news stories on this, and we're going to run them consecutively. Here we go. Let me get this picture up out of here, and we're going to run this down. Bear with me for a second. Here we go.
A federal indictment against a former North Dakota state senator was unsealed today as he made his first court appearance in federal court.
79-year-old Raymond Holmberg from Grand Forks is accused of traveling overseas to have sex with minors. He pleaded not guilty. WDAY News reporter Sam Getzinger dug through the 4-page indictment today. He joins us live from the federal courthouse. Sam.
Yeah, Dana, Kirsten, Holmberg's initial appearance here at the federal courthouse, which is behind me here in downtown Fargo, he was here for arraignment. It started at 2 this afternoon and lasted less than an hour. Now, the former state senator who served from 1976 all the way up until last year was indicted on Thursday for traveling with the intent to engage.
Said since 1976, this man's been in this position. Let me take that back a little bit. Here we go.
Was indicted on Thursday. He was here for arraignment. It started at 2 this afternoon and lasted less than an hour. Now, the former state senator who served from 1976 all the way up until last year was indicted on.
He served from 1976 until last year, until he got caught up in this. That's a long time that he was involved in this, making laws against this and getting away with this. This is what's going on. These guys making the laws and also breaking the laws on a very high level. I'm gonna let this play through. I'm gonna take this from the top. We're gonna let this play. Here we go.
A former North Dakota state senator was unsealed today as he made his first court appearance in federal court.
79-year-old Raymond Holmberg from Grand Forks is accused of traveling overseas to have sex with minors. He pleaded not guilty. WDAY News reporter Sam Getzinger dug through the 4-page indictment today. He joins us live from the federal courthouse. Sam.
Yeah, Dana, Kirsten, Holmberg's initial appearance here at the federal courthouse, which is behind me here in downtown Fargo, he was here for arraignment. It started at 2 this afternoon and lasted less than an hour. Now, the former state senator who served from 1976 all the way up until last year was indicted on Thursday for traveling with the intent to engage in illicit sexual activity and for receipts of child porn. And there was a time when Holmberg was the longest-serving state senator in the U.S. The indictment that was unsealed today accuses Holmberg of traveling to the Czech Republic from 2011 to 2016 with the intention of having sex with minors. It also says from 2012 to 2013 he would receive or try to receive child porn. The indictment says Holmberg would go out by the alias of Sean Evan or Evans during that time. And this all comes over a year after Inform reporter April Baumgarten uncovered text messages between Holmberg and 35-year-old Nicholas Morgan DeRozier, who pled guilty to federal child porn charges in late September. Holmberg says those messages were about patio work and other projects on his home in Grand Forks. And in 2020, Holmberg gave Morgan DeRozier a ride to Bismarck so he could discuss a construction fraud case at the Attorney General's office. But that investigation led officers to evidence that would later be tied to Morgan DeRozier's child porn case. Now, Holmberg was released today on.
So he was in close contact with a guy that's already been arrested for illegal acts with minors.
What?
A guy that's been arrested for porn. The senator was in contact with him, close contact with him. What y'all think was going on in that case? We're gonna bring that back. That's very interesting. Here we go.
Evan or Evans during that time. And this all comes over a year after Inform reporter April Baumgarten uncovered text messages between Holmberg and 35-year-old Nicholas Morgan DeRozier, who pled guilty to federal child porn charges in late.
This guy right here pled guilty federally. This is who the senator was in contact with. Before he was locked up, he was in contact with this guy. International criminals. Can't blame the pimps for this one. Here we go.
comes over a year after Inform reporter April Baumgarten uncovered text messages between Holmberg and 35-year-old Nicholas Morgan DeRozier, who pled guilty to federal child porn charges in late September. Holmberg says those messages were about patio work and other projects on his home in Grand Forks. And in 2020, Holmberg gave Morgan DeRozier a ride to Bismarck so he could discuss a construction fraud case at the Attorney General's office. But that investigation led officers to evidence that would later be tied to Morgan DeRozier's child porn case. Now, Holmberg was released today on supervision. He's not allowed to leave the Grand Forks or East Grand Forks area, and he's also not allowed to be in contact with anyone under the age of 18. And the federal indictment also ordered him to give up his iPad and cell phone, and his initial trial date is set for December 5th.
So they released this guy on bond, the senator. He was now the ex-senator. They released this guy on bond with conditions. We're going to continue with these news stories. This is going to get a little more interesting, y'all. Check this out.
Leading local in tonight's top story, KX News has now confirmed that the Vogel law firm is representing Grand Forks Republican Senator Ray Holmberg. Holmberg will be represented by criminal defense attorney Mark Fries. Now, this comes after Dem NPL Chairman Patrick Hart called on Senator Holmberg to step down and release text messages Holmberg exchanged with an incarcerated child porn suspect named Nicholas James Morgan DeRozier. Grand Forks County Jail records confirm Holmberg exchanged 72 text messages when Morgan DeRozier was jailed. A phone number used by Holmberg was among those the 34-year-old texted in a flurry of communication on August 23rd and 24th when Morgan DeRozier was incarcerated last year. A jail official has confirmed inmates can pay money to use a text messaging service in jail.
So he was contacted, this guy that was found guilty already of these same sort of crimes against children in jail. These text messages that they're talking about are text messages that they found on the jail, on a federal device. The messages that they found were on a federal device. Not only a sicko, but a dummy at the same time. Bring this back a little bit. Such a diabolical sexual deviant that he was contacting a guy that was already found guilty of these type of crimes in a federal prison. Here we go.
Those the 34-year-old texted in a flurry of communication on August 23rd and 24th when Morgan DeRozier was incarcerated last year. A jail official has confirmed inmates can pay money to use a text messaging service in jail, which is what Morgan DeRozier did. As the chair of the legislative management, Holmberg holds the power to allocate millions in federal relief funds. Dem NPL Chairman Patrick Hart has called on Holmberg to step down as chair, saying, quote, "Instead of working to come up with creative solutions to fix problems in our state, he is exchanging text messages with someone who's been federally indicted for child porn, sexual abuse, and trafficking," end quote.
They said he had the power to allocate millions of dollars to the federal programs there in North Dakota. They said he had the power to change a lot of laws, to do a lot of good things for the great state of North Dakota. But instead, he's contacting sex trafficking of minors internationally, flying across the country, flying across the world to commit these type of crimes. Leave those children alone. Let's continue.
In a case report from the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation, former North Dakota lawmaker Ray Holmberg was found to have sent emails discussing his sexual abuse of minors with other prominent North Dakota figures. The North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation sent us a case report detailing its findings, which it says came from Nicholas DeRozier's Samsung. DeRosier is from Grand Forks and was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison when he pleaded guilty to receiving and possessing child sexual abuse material. The report says the emails show Holmberg had been arranging to meet with minors for sexual encounters spanning as far back as 2008. The report mentions a number of businessmen with North Dakota ties to have been aware of and possibly participated in the abuse with Holmberg. The report indicates the ages of the victims mentioned in the email conversations could have ranged from 13 to 16 years old. The men listed as accomplices to Holmberg in his sexual abuse of minors had ties to North Dakota higher education. In response, the North Dakota University system sent out a response saying in part, "We feel despair for the victims and their families and shock that individuals connected to the State Board of Higher Education or North Dakota University system may have had knowledge of Holmberg's conduct." In a case report,
they said these guys were prominent people in the community, people tied to higher education.
What?
These people had ties to the school system.
Wow.
They had tied to all the children's programs. These people that he contacted that were not named. This is serious business right here that we're talking about. It's people like this guy right here, the real sex traffickers, not the women that are out there working, adult consensual sex workers. We're not talking about them. We're not talking about the men that are in their life that's supporting them and helping them along their way. We're not talking about them. We're not talking about the Johns, the so-called tricks, where fair exchange is being used, no robbery, fair exchange. They are paying for a service. We're not talking about that. We're talking about these guys right here. These guys making the laws against those other people. These guys. Just like in the last video. These pen pushers. Leave those children alone. We're going to take this back a little bit. They said this guy, we're going to take it from the top and play this again. Straight through. Y'all listen to this. Pay attention. We got a few more of these stories on this guy. But pay attention.
The North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation, former North Dakota lawmaker Ray Holmberg was found to have sent emails discussing his sexual abuse of minors with other prominent North Dakota figures. The North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation sent us a case report detailing its findings, which it says came from Nicholas DeRosier's Samsung. DeRosier is from Grand Forks and was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison when he pleaded guilty to receiving and possessing child sexual abuse material. The report says the emails show Holmberg had been arranging to meet with minors for sexual encounters spanning as far back as 2008.
They said with just this guy that was incarcerated already for these charges that received the 40 years, he had been in contact with Senator Ray Holmberg right here since at least 2008, setting up these kind of encounters with minors. This man only received 10 years. There's stories out here of guys that did far less than this and received life in prison. There's stories out here with guys that were found guilty of sex trafficking without a minor being involved and received hundreds of years. This guy received 10 years in prison. The lawmaker, this is what the lawmaker right here, this is what he received, 10 years in prison. This is diabolical. We're going to take it back a little bit. Here we go.
Forks and was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison when he pleaded guilty to receiving and possessing child sexual abuse material. The report says the emails show Holmberg had been arranging to meet with minors for sexual encounters spanning as far back as 2008. The report mentions a number of businessmen with North Dakota ties to have been aware of and possibly participated in the abuse with Holmberg. The report indicates the ages of the victims mentioned in the email conversations could have ranged from 13 to 16 years old. The men listed as accomplices to Holmberg and his sexual abuse of minors had ties to North Dakota higher education. In response, the North Dakota University system sent out a response saying in part, "We feel despair for the victims and their families and shock that individuals connected to the State Board of Higher Education or North Dakota University system may have had knowledge of Holmberg's conduct."
Yeah, that was the PR, that was the press statement right there. May have. No, it wasn't may have. They found they had the feds got the text messages that said he was in contact with these guys that were connected to higher education. That he was in contact with the other guy that just got the 40 years. They got the 40-year sentence. He was in contact with these people. He was in contact with other prominent individuals in North Dakota that wanted to violate children. He only received 10 years for this. That's not the end of this, y'all, though. Check it out.
Happening now at 4, arguments continue in a very high-profile criminal sentencing in Fargo. Thanks for joining us here at 4. I'm Justin Betty. We are coming up on 7 hours in court today in the sentencing of former longtime North Dakota state legislator Ray Holmberg. Last year, he pleaded guilty to traveling overseas with the intent to engage in commercial sex with a minor. The state is asking for 37 months, about 3 years in prison. Holmberg's defense is arguing for him to be let out on time served, or at most to serve whatever time is left on house arrest, citing his age and medical conditions. He's 81. Earlier in the day, state attorneys called up a special agent to the stand who's been in charge of many parts of this investigation. Also, 2 witnesses who were involved with Holmberg many years ago gave victim impact statements today. Again, arguments continue this afternoon. We'll update you as soon as Holmberg is sentenced.
He put up an argument to be let out because of his age, 81 years old. Keep in mind, he's been doing this since the 1970s. Here we go.
Former North Dakota Senator Ray Holmberg has just been sentenced to 10 years in prison. The sentencing hearing started at 9:30 this morning, and a judge just ruled about 30 minutes ago. Valley News Team's Bobby Fallett has been in the courtroom all day. He joins us live with the details. Bobby.
Yeah, hey, Courtney, we just got out of this courtroom about a half an hour ago. Like you said, we started at 9:30. We weren't done till about 4:30, and that is when the judge gave down that sentence like you asked for. Now, both the prosecution and the defense, they were asking for somewhere between a 37 to 46 a month sentence. The judge ruling that some of his quotes that saying that the 37 to 46 months was too difficult to understand, and that the crimes that were being committed were far worse than child porn, that they were comparing this case to some of those. So very kind of shocking when it came down. That said that, you know, the sentence should be vary from anywhere from 97 to 121 months. 121 months was the sentence that the judge handed down. He'll have 10 years and 1 month, and then 10 years of supervised probation. Now, the judge did say that obviously Ray Holmberg will have a chance to appeal. We're not exactly sure when exactly that will be the case, but a lot is happening, and right now we're actually kind of just waiting behind the courthouse for the prosecutors to kind of come out to see if we were able to get a statement. We have not been able to contact the defense attorney at this time for a statement, but we'll be sure to keep an eye out for that. Reporting outside the federal courthouse in Fargo.
They argued for 36 months for this. The judge said, oh no, 10 years, 1 month. Here we go. We got another one. Here we go.
As former state senator Ray Holmberg may not be the only one involved in child sex crimes.
Elizabeth Shores tells us what steps investigators are taking, and she joins us to explain. Liz?
That's right. Ray Holmberg was sentenced to 10 years in prison after being federally convicted of traveling internationally to have sex with children. The Attorney General says his office is looking into whether others were involved.
Senator Holmberg.
For 45 years, Ray Holmberg has served as a state legislator, and North Dakota Attorney General Drew Wrigley says investigations into his conduct have been underway for years.
Literally in my first hour as Attorney General, I was briefed by my former office in the nature of this investigation, told that our BCI was conducting a very, very significant chunk of it completely hand in glove with HSI.
Last year, the 81-year-old former Grand Forks senator pleaded guilty to traveling to Prague in the Czech Republic nearly 14 times between 2011 and 2021 for sex, sometimes using taxpayer funds to get there. The U.S. Department of Justice reports that Holmberg would stay at brothels during these trips where he paid to have sex with boys, some as young as 12. And evidence shows he might not have acted alone.
There remain a couple of anonymous people that have communicated with Senator Holmberg in the past, and we are hot on the trail of identifying potentially more of those. And that's an important part of this investigation, too.
Department of Justice records indicate Holmberg told friends about his trips and would encourage them to.
They said they on the heels of the other guys that was involved also. We're going to take that back. He said they on the heels of his buddies that he was in contact with. It's a lot of prominent people in North Dakota that was in contact with him, and that he also contacted the lawmakers turned lawbreakers on a very high level of lawbreakers. Been around since 1976. Here we go.
The U.S. Department of Justice reports that Holmberg would stay at brothels during these trips where he paid to have sex with boys, some as young as 12. And evidence shows he might not have acted alone.
There remain a couple of anonymous people that have communicated with Senator Holmberg in the past, and we are hot on the trail of identifying potentially more of those. And that's an important part of this investigation, too.
Department of Justice records indicate Holmberg told friends about his trips and would encourage them to go as well. The department says some of those messages were things like, "No one is ever too young," "Remember Prague," or "It will be decadent, but oh so much fun, bro. What happens in Prague stays in Prague." Wrigley says he can't share the names of any suspects since the investigations are ongoing, but does say no stone will be left unturned, and says those who impeded attempts to bring Holmberg to justice are being scrutinized.
So I might be gone.
There have been moments where I was very surprised, not because I thought better of any of the people involved. Just again, you think to yourself, how does someone conduct themselves in this way? How are they so calloused with regard to the victims of what they're doing? How do they dehumanize
Senator Holmberg?
Other people in their conduct, especially minors?
Wrigley says they're working with overseas law enforcement departments as well, which has added time to their investigations. He says new information has been brought to his office in regards to the case, and they plan to continue investigating for as long as it takes to finish them.
Hey, these other guys involved in this, looks like they're going down also. That's what it seems like. International sickos messing with these minors. They know who they are. A lot of them cleaning up. They said they had people in law enforcement and in other positions that was helping cover up for this guy. I think we got one more part to this. Here we go.
A former state lawmaker who is serving prison time has reportedly been taken to a medical center to be treated. Ray Holmberg, who was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for child sex crimes, has been transported to the Federal Medical Center in Rochester, Minnesota. That's according to federal prison records. Holmberg was previously incarcerated in the Sherburne County Jail in Elk River, Minnesota, after he was found guilty in March of traveling to Prague at least 10 times to engage in sexual activity with underage boys. Prosecutors said Holmberg also groomed young men here in North Dakota. Rochester is one of 6 cities in the U.S. that have a federal medical prison. KX News contacted Holmberg's attorney this afternoon, but so far it is unclear what the medical problem is or Holmberg's current condition.
Holmberg might be checking out of here real soon. They gave that man 10 years in prison at 81. And now had to move him to a medical facility, or they moved him there because of his status. He gave a lot of money to the feds, millions of dollars. But hey, whatever it is, he made his bed, He's now in a federal penitentiary, locked up doing 10 years about it. International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the records and the dollars. Leave those kids alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And we will see you on the next one.